Motorsport Radio.
So then we're here for part 3 of the 2017 Hankook 24 Hours of Silverstone. We're nearly 7.5 hours left to go, and as you can see, the sun's finally come out. It's Sunday morning, and it's getting lovely, and the conditions, they're pretty good at the moment. No rain overnight. It's a little bit chilly, but nothing the drivers couldn't handle. No rain, which is always a good thing. But that doesn't mean that we've not had a bit of attrition. It's been quite a good hour. We've still not had that many in terms of retirements. In fact, the only car's still not running. In fact, there's only one car which is not running at the moment, which is the Team Abu of Roll Centre Racing, which we mentioned, I think, in our sort of midnight update, around about 10 o'clock to midnight. And we mentioned that one. That's still not come out. I think that could be an official retirement. Otherwise, we've got 29 cars still out there, still circulating, a couple in the pit lane at the moment. Some of the biggest stories, actually, in fact, we've got currently the number 216 at the 16-hour mark, bearing in mind we've had a little bit since then, and a bit of an update to what's going on. So it's the Modern Motorsport car, the 216, in the lead of the race, but that's only just come in not too long ago. And it's had right rear suspension damage. I suspect that's due to some of the curbs here, Formula 1 grade curbs you can see over there. And the issue with that is they're very big, very sort of perforated curbing. It does a lot of damage to the cars if you hit them wrong, and of course if you're going at it for so long like these cars have been doing, you've got the potential to get big damage. And in fact, lots of the sets, I think the top 3 have all, the top 3 have all come in, had suspension damage, had it repaired. In fact, the 303, which is in 3rd place at the 16-hour mark, came in. We had a bit of a wander down the pit lane, loads of smoke in fact over there. We think there could be a suspected turbo problem with that car, so not running at the moment, getting that fixed, which is a real shame for them. One of my tips for the race, and so far not quite so good for them. They've been running really well up into 3rd place overall. Were 2nd place at some point during the race as well, but at the moment currently getting their car fixed. There's the Team Pleca Molan car, the number 100, which was 2nd at the 16-hour mark. It is back into the lead. They first came in for some suspension problems and then got that fixed. So they spent about 15 minutes in the pit lane before they got that fixed, and then the same thing happened to the leading car, which then meant they got back through. So they've regain their position, so number 100 is back into the lead of the race. Let's quickly have a look. Cup 1 in 8th place for QSR, and that's under investigation. In fact, that's under investigation by the race stewards for various misdemeanors. I think track width and track lines are the big ones that have been looked at during the course of this race. And the Cup 1 cars have been a bit of a surprise for me, actually. It's been quite interesting to see how they've progressed naturally through the field. The GT4 cars haven't really had a clean berth of it this year compared to last year. The Cup 1 cars have been more or less, touch wood so far, absolutely bulletproof. So they've been doing quite well. Up into 8th place, Sam Tordoff in the Sorg car has been running around. Sorg Rennsport car in 3rd place in class. The RMA Track Days JJ Motorsport car in 2nd place. So that's 8th, 9th and 10th overall. The first of the A3 cars is the Moss Motorsport UK BMW E46 M3. That's been running very well as well. The A3 cars, again, not having a clean run of it. It's been quite interesting to see. The TCR cars have been struggling a little bit. The Cup 1 cars, that's the 140. In fact, that is the 140 coming in just behind me there. That is, of course, the Intersport car. That had issues overnight. The suspension problems, we got well documented suspension problems, and the A3 car's not having a very clean run of it. TCR car's not having a clean run of it. The only ones which have had a relative good run, again, is the Cup 1 cars. They've been doing quite well so far, so we'll have to see how that goes for later on in the race. We've still got about 7 hours of this race left to go, so anything still could happen. So it's the 136 Moss Motorsport UK car which is in the lead of that class. Another TCR car of Monlau competition, of course. They've been doing quite well as well. That was the pole sitting car. They're down in 12th. They've had quite a lot of issues with gearbox as well with that car. And then we look down, and in 13th place is the first of the A2 cars. In fact, both A2 cars of Team Sally Racing and then Area MS. So that is the Renault Clear Cup 3 and then the Honda Civic. A lap between the two of them at times. It's now 30 seconds I see at the moment. So the Team Sally car in the lead of A2. 36 behind them is the Honda Civic of Area Motorsport, and again, both of them are looking very competitive. They came in, Area came in a little while ago with a bit of damage to the right rear tyre. It was underinflating according to what the mechanics were saying, so we'll get a bit of a report on that, but luckily they managed to get back out and they're circulating once again, so it's not too much there for them. But of course a slow puncture on that car is expected anyway, so these kind of things happen, especially with the kind of curving they've got around here. So yeah, A2 accounted for. If I can, the only thing we get here is the wind, you see. And then it's the leader, surprisingly enough, so low down, the leader for CWS, the 178 Colin White's team in the Ginetta G55. Then of course he's also scheduled to be racing at Brands Hatch. However, his stint starts at 2 o'clock here at Silverstone. His race at Brands Hatch starts at 3 o'clock. Somehow I don't think that's going to be happening. As a result, he's going to be driving here and miss that race. But they've had an interesting little run. They've had a lot of penalties, as it just goes through that car, in fact. They've had a few penalties, times in the sim bins for various track extension. Going under the reference lap time is a big one. And Colin White has gone under his allotted amount of under the 2 minute 18 lap times. And as such, that's why they've been given the penalties for that. And as such, they've been penalised for it. And there's not much more they can do. But it's an interesting point, the GT4 cars. When he was doing an interview earlier with the trackside commentary, he was saying he wasn't very happy at the rules and regulations, but it's in the rules and regulations. That's what you got to adhere to, I'm afraid. So yeah, that's him down in 15th place, but still in the lead of GT4. Then it's the Core Ursa Racing BMW M3. That's not had the best of runs, the comparative, relatively clean runs. Then it's the Homeguard Motorsport TCR car for Seat Leon, Volkswagen Golf. The Ledstrup Racing team in 110. They're down in 18th place, 19th place for the 3rd place A3 car, the Vanquish Motorsport Seat Leon. That had the suspension problems very early on in the race. Has been running, as it goes past now, in fact, running relatively clean for most of the race, so it's good to see it's getting a good run out there. Let's have a look. TCR for Track Club, the Seat Leon. Then it's the Synchro Motorsports Honda Civic Type R, 4th in A3, and that's the car which had the engine change early on in the race, nearly 200 hours on that engine, and it just bit the ghost really, which is a shame. But it's done a lot of driving in that car, so the new engine seems to be running relatively cleanly anyway, just getting it bedded in effect. So it's a good run out for them. They're making their way slowly up the field. Then it's the second of the GT4 cars, the Endurance Autosport Low 6 Siege, and that's had a full pad and disc change. In fact, no more than about half an hour ago did it have a pad and disc change. So for that car, they should be good to go for the end of the race. Of course, there's a lot of the cars around here running steel brakes, so they do have to change their discs. They can't last 24 hours. Carbon dust comes off the TCR cars, and they've got carbon brakes, but they still try and change them to be on the safe side. The Marr of Motorsport BMW 1M, the one with the intercooler problems we had earlier, that's 3rd in SP3 GT4, and that's in 24th overall. 25th, which goes to the second page, is the Intersport Racing BMW M3 CSL, again the one with the problems. And A3, the 5th place car in A3, the Accelerate Racing car, the Mini, which has been going around so fabulously, had a myriad of problems. They've had drive shaft problems, they've had problems with the wheels, they've had a couple of issues with the gearbox, and now it's just not damage limitation, but just going out there, pounding around, having a bit of fun, which is what this kind of racing needs to be for them, I suppose. So they're just driving around, making sure they can get a decent result, more track time under the car, more they can understand what kind of problems they get, and more they know how to fix them. Then it's the Duro Racing Cup 1 car of Jean-Marie Dumont. That was the one which actually spun on the opening warm-up lap, hit the wall at the Wennington Straight, lost an hour trying to get that car fixed, been on the back foot ever since. He's on 2:69 now, so the 16-hour mark, and that's about 17 laps behind the Accelerate car. They're closing in at some rate. They're 2 seconds a lap slower. Their fastest is 2 seconds a lap slower, the Accelerate Motorsport car, but again they're closing in, so these kind of things can happen. Then we'll look at the Zest Race Car Engineering TCR. That's a Seat Leon TCR V2 with the DSG in there, 254 laps. Again, that's had 2 hours and 4 minutes in the pit lane. And then we get to the guys with the big trouble, TDF Jiva SP3 GT4. That came in a little while ago with Michael Lyons. There's a load of rubber and grass in the front of that car. The engine overheated, head gasket got a little bit hot. They've not had to replace the engine, which would be a real shame if they had to do 2 engines in the space of 1 race. That's gone back out though, and it's pounding around once again, getting more mileage underneath it. And it's not doing too badly now. But they had a bit of trouble with that car. They've got it cleared. They've got the car under the right temperature now, so that should be running perfectly fine. And then last, and I'm afraid I think could be an actual retirement, only 80 laps clocked on that car, is the Team Abu Roll Centre Racing car. And it's a shame for them. Of course, the guys who won last year, not quite so well this year. And it's interesting to see it with about 7 hours of this race left to go. It's not, I wouldn't call it wide open, but it's not exactly too bad indeed. At the time, it was 370 to 366 laps. It's a 4 lap gap or 10 minutes between the 2 race leaders. Class battles you want to be looking at. There's a minute gap between the pit lane competizione car 122 to 100, which is second to third place. The Seat Leons in 303 and 217, there was 13 seconds, of course, the 303 in the pit lane at the moment. Further down the field, the gaps aren't big, but they're not small. Cars are a little bit more spread out now, but of course, the nature of the beast is drivers will start getting really exhausted as the sun's come out. The cars will start getting really wet. Brake disc changes, brake pad changes will be needed. Before you got to take into account as well. So the driver strategy, everything else is coming into account. We've got 7 hours left to go, and we'll have a bit of an update in a little while. So I'll see you shortly.